We used to talk a lot about screen resolutions back in our Command N days, where we had to compress and host our own video files, but thankfully things have gotten a bit simpler since then. It was almost 30 years ago when the first TV station in the US began to broadcast in digital, and it took about 10 years for high definition broadcast to start to take hold. By 2015, over 80% of the households in the US had at least one HD TV, which in terms of resolution is 720p or 1080i or p, which means the TV displays between 720 and 1080 lines of pixels, a significant step up from the 480 lines shown by the previous standard definition or SD TVs. Today, most consumer televisions are 4K or 4K Ultra HD if you're talking high-end stuff. This has 2,160 lines of resolution, so that's 4 times as many pixels as 1080p HD. But technology being technology, the evolution has not stopped there. So without getting too lost in the details, let's look at where things are going. These days, there's increasing discussion around 8K TVs, which have 4 times the number of pixels as 4K TVs at 4,320 lines. So is it time for consumers to consider upgrading? In my opinion, not really. Let me explain. The biggest problem I see is that the vast majority of people these days watch video exclusively through streaming services. Now, the most common non-streaming format for 4K video is Blu-ray, and a Blu-ray disc can hold up to 100 gigabytes, although this can include extras and other content, so the easier way to look at the quality of the image on a Blu-ray is by the maximum bitrate, which is basically how much data is passed from the storage device to the TV each second. For 4K Blu-ray, the maximum bitrate is 128 megabits per second. So if you put in a 4K disc into your Blu-ray player to watch a movie or a TV show, there can be as much as 128 megabits of data sent to your TV each second. Let's compare this with streaming. Now, these numbers may change, but it currently appears that services like Netflix and Disney Plus stream 4K content at a video bitrate of up to 25 megabits per second, and it's even less on other services. That's only 1/5 of the maximum bitrate of 4K Blu-ray. So why would this be? First of all, there's a savings aspect to this, as it costs the streaming services more money to stream the same content if the bitrate is higher. But there can also be limitations based on your home internet and router speeds. In any case, what's being called 4K on streaming has nowhere near the same video bit rates of actual 4K content on a Blu-ray disc, which means the video content you're watching through streaming is being heavily compressed to reduce its size, even at 4K, and at 8K it would be that much more compressed. So while your TV is displaying the same number of pixels whether you're streaming or watching it on a Blu-ray disc, the picture from the Blu-ray disc is going to be considerably better. But that's just one problem with 8K. Another is that there just isn't that much content distributed in 8K. For example, Warner Brothers recently announced that it had scanned over 20 movies shot on film to 8K, which is great. But that's just 20 movies from a giant studio that's been making films for over a century. Apple is also producing some content in 8K, but that's for the Vision Pro, whose future is far from certain. So even if you buy an 8K TV, almost none of the content you watch on it will be natively at 8K. Instead, your TV will use artificial upscaling of lower resolution content to fill all of those pixels, which compromises the video resolution. Finally, 8K content is frankly getting beyond the human ability to discern in normal situations when you're looking at a TV in your house. So unless you have a really giant display or you're only a couple feet from your TV, your eyes probably aren't going to notice much difference between 8K and 4K. And thankfully, all of this is actually great news because it means that anyone who already has a 4K TV has all that they need. And given how much content is streamed in HD instead of Ultra HD, you're probably going to do just fine with your old HD TV set. I'm the other Mac. Stay focused out there.